Clayton Kershaw is the most disrespected player of all time, from being clowned on by the Padres to getting constant criticism about his playoff performances. It's no surprise he doesn't get the respect he deserves. However, what if I told you Clayton Kershaw has some of the greatest playoff achievements in the history of baseball and a heart of gold? It would seem all of this disrespect is misguided, but how did it all start? To find out, we need to go back to 1988, where Clayton Edward Kershaw was born in Dallas, Texas. He excelled at sports at an early age, playing youth football and baseball. It was there where he met one of his closest friends, quarterback Matthew Stafford. He attended Highland Park High School, where he threw a 15 strikeout perfect game and hit a home run. Establishing himself as an elite prospect in his senior year, he would commit to Texas Tech. But in 2006, the Dodgers selected Kershaw with the 7th overall pick in the first round. He would choose to sign with the Dodgers and start his major league career. Kershaw dominated in the minors in 2006 and 2007, resulting in an early call-up to the Dodgers on May 25, 2008. Kershaw would show glimpses of greatness in his first career start, pitching 6 innings and only giving up 2 runs and striking out 7, with the Dodgers going on to win the game in the 10th. While he had a great start to his career, there were some glaring problems. Kershaw would finish the 2008 season with a 4.26 ERA and 107 2/3 innings. While promising, he still had a lot of room to grow. But in 2009, things would take a turn for the worst, as Kershaw would start the season with a 7.29 ERA in his first 4 starts. After a horrible start on May 12th against the Phillies, Dodgers manager Joe Torre would ask hitting coach Don Mattingly to tell Kershaw how he would face him. Mattingly responded with, "I would ignore the curveball because I know Kershaw could not command it. I would disregard the changeup because I know he doesn't trust it. I would focus on the inner half and wait for heaters. He has one pitch. Hit the fastball. It's not that hard." Torre then turned to Kershaw and told him, "You need to learn a third pitch." Kershaw would then start the process of learning his future Hall of Fame pitch, the slider. He quickly discovered that all the slider required was power. He threw the pitch as hard as he could, and the grip took care of the rest. Kershaw tried it in between his starts and liked the shape, but he wasn't sure it was ready. Kershaw delayed the pitch for a few weeks, but on May 17th, in his first start after the meeting in Torre's office, he carried a no-hitter into the 8th inning against the Florida Marlins. He would end up giving up a leadoff double in the 8th, but it didn't matter. Joe Torre would excel and say, "He's got the Koufax dominance." The slider had saved Kershaw's career. From being a young player with lots of potential to a certified stud, he would go on to dominate the rest of the season with his new weapon in his arsenal. He finished the year with a 2.79 ERA and 171 innings with 185 strikeouts, and the Dodgers made the playoffs for the first time in Kershaw's career. Kershaw got to make his first postseason start in Game 2 of the NLDS, and he dominated, going 6 2/3 innings, allowing 2 runs. The future looked bright for young Kershaw, but what happened next would shock everybody. Heading into the NLCS against the juggernaut Phillies, the Dodgers tried to deploy their new 21-year-old weapon in Game 1, but unfortunately, things didn't go as planned.
Driven down the left field line and deep and gone. Driven into the right field corner, and that's big-time trouble. Rollins scores. Utley around third. They're going to wave him. Here's the throw to the plate.
Kershaw gave up 5 runs in 4 2/3 innings, and the Dodgers eventually lost the series 4-1, and Kershaw wouldn't get to pitch in the playoffs for another 4 years. 2010 would be the start of an era where Kershaw would throw 200 innings or more in 5 out of the next 6 seasons. He would pitch to a 2.91 ERA, and while the Dodgers didn't make the playoffs, they were starting to form a young core of Matt Kemp, Andre Ethier, and Clayton Kershaw. The next decade looked like it had a lot of potential to be a historic one for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And 2011 reaffirmed this, with Matt Kemp finishing second in MVP and Kershaw winning the Cy Young. There was one massive problem though: Frank McCourt, the Dodgers owner. He didn't care about baseball, and he was abusing the Los Angeles market to make a ridiculous amount of profit. But right before the 2012 season, he sold the team to the Guggenheim management for a record $2 billion. Frank McCourt got his payday, while the city of Los Angeles got a group of owners dedicated to win. The 2012 season would be a big improvement from the 2011 season, with the Dodgers winning 86 games and finishing second in the NL West, with Kershaw dominating once again, pitching to a 2.53 ERA and 227 2/3 innings. This would be the last season Kershaw's dominance would not be seen in the playoffs, as 2013 would start one of the most dominant decades for a team in MLB history that still continues on to this day, but it would also be a very controversial decade for Clayton Kershaw. 2013 would be his best season yet, winning another Cy Young and pitching to a 1.83 ERA and 236 innings. The Dodgers would make the playoffs, and Kershaw was on a mission to lead his team to the World Series, but standing in his way was the 2013 Braves in the NLDS, and Kershaw did this in Game 1.
And Simmons And he struck Kershaw. And making a dozen.
He was unhittable, striking out 12 batters in 7 innings, only allowing 1 run. This level of dominance was expected from Kershaw, but could he repeat it on 3 days rest? He had never pitched on 3 days rest in his career. And when he was asked about this, he said this.
So this is the postseason, and I don't want to take it for granted. I don't want to, I might never get to do this again. So if Donnie wanted me to pitch tomorrow, I would. This is the postseason.
On only 3 days rest for the first time in his career, Kershaw pitched 6 innings, only giving up 2 runs, leading his team to the NLCS where they would face the Cardinals. Kershaw continued his dominance in Game 2 of the NLCS, going 6 innings with 1 earned run. But unfortunately his offense couldn't pick him up and they lost 1-0. Kershaw was gassed at this point and desperately needed an extra day of recovery. So with 5 days of rest and the Dodgers now facing an elimination game, they sent Kershaw out there for Game 6. But what happened next shocked everyone. Just like in 2009, when his team needed him most, he vanished. Kershaw gave up 7 runs in 4 innings, and the Dodgers were eliminated from the 2013 playoffs. In 2014, Kershaw set out to separate himself from the rest of the league and become the best pitcher in baseball. He then had arguably the greatest starting pitcher season of all time. Kershaw demolished the league with a 1.77 ERA in 198 1/3 innings, not only winning the Cy Young and MVP, but also throwing a 15 strikeout perfect game, which would go down as one of the best pitched games of all time. While all this success was great, Kershaw had his eyes on one thing: a World Series trophy. Standing in his way, once again, the St. Louis Cardinals. Kershaw was dealing in Game 1, only allowing 2 runs in 6 innings, but the 7th inning would change his career forever.
That's into center, a base hit. Here's a 1-1. Base hit left field. In the air to right center. Back at the wall. It is off the base of the wall. The 3-run double. St. Louis jumps on top.
This was a pivotal point in Kershaw's career, and something that would continue to happen in the future. Kershaw not getting taken out in big spots. There were 4 times that inning where Kershaw should have been taken out, and with over 100 pitches thrown already, letting him face Carpenter was a very stupid decision by Dodgers manager Don Mattingly. The Dodgers would win Game 2, but lose Game 3, and with the Dodgers facing an elimination game, they would send out their ace on 3 days of rest. Kershaw had a good outing in Game 4, only allowing 3 runs in 6 innings, but the offense couldn't pick him up and the Dodgers lost the series. Another wasted year for Clayton Kershaw. This would start the conversation of labeling Kershaw as a playoff choker, with critics saying he can't handle the pressure. In 2015, Kershaw was a part of the tightest Cy Young race of all time, with Zach Greinke and Jake Arrieta. 3 players being deserving of the award at the end of the season, with only 1 being able to win. Ultimately, Arrieta won the award, with Kershaw finishing 3rd, but this year was equally just as impressive, posting a 2.13 ERA in 232 innings, with the Dodgers winning the NL West for the 3rd consecutive year. Kershaw was ready for the playoffs, and he did not disappoint. Facing off against the Mets in Game 1, Kershaw would pitch a great game, going 6 2/3 with 11 strikeouts, only giving up 3 runs. Unfortunately, the Dodgers bats couldn't pick him up, and the Dodgers lost Game 1, and on 3 days of rest facing an elimination game, Kershaw would step up and dominate in Game 4. Pitching 7 innings, only giving up 1 run. Kershaw did his part this year, and this was by far the best opportunity the Dodgers had at getting to the World Series, but they would lose in Game 5 and be eliminated from the playoffs once again. In 2016, Kershaw would miss time due to a disc herniation, but would come back looking better than ever, putting up a 1.69 ERA in 149 innings, and was healthy come the playoffs, and would get the start in Game 1 of the NLDS against the Nationals. Kershaw would have a decent performance in Game 1, giving up 3 runs in 5 innings, with the Dodgers winning, but Game 4 would be where he would struggle, giving up 5 runs in 6 2/3 innings, with the Dodgers losing the game, forcing a Game 5, and on 1 day of rest, the Dodgers called upon their ace to close out Game 5.
Down to their final out. The Los Angeles Dodgers are headed to Chicago.
The Dodgers advanced to the NLCS, and Kershaw continued his dominance in Game 2, pitching 7 scoreless innings and tying up the series 1-1. But in the Game 6 elimination game, Kershaw would once again fail to rise to the occasion. He would give up 5 runs in 5 innings, and the Dodgers would lose their series, another setback for Kershaw and the Dodgers. 2017 was one of the most pivotal seasons of Kershaw's career, with the biggest scandal in baseball history that heavily affected Kershaw and how we view his playoff performances. And of course, Kershaw had another amazing season, finishing 2nd in Cy Young and posting a 2.31 ERA in 175 innings. Playoff Kershaw would rear his ugly head back into the picture in the NLDS, pitching 6 1/3 innings against the Diamondbacks, giving up 4 runs. Fortunately for him, the Dodgers won this game and the series, but if the Dodgers were going to have a deep run in the playoffs, Kershaw needed to step his game up, and he did in Game 1 of the NLCS, only giving up 2 runs in 5 innings. With the Dodgers on the verge of a World Series berth, Kershaw would shut down the Cubs, pitching 6 innings, giving up 1 run and clinching a World Series berth. The Dodgers would play the Astros in the World Series, and it was found out later that the Astros cheated this year, using buzzers and video cameras to help them know what pitch was coming. While most of MLB fans already know the details of this, people forget that Kershaw had one of his worst postseason starts against the Astros in the series, and largely because of the Astros cheating. This affected his legacy in a massive way, but in Game 1 at Dodger Stadium, he pitched a gem, striking out 11 in 7 innings, only giving up 1 run. But in Game 5, it was a different story. Kershaw gave up 6 runs in 4 2/3 innings, a defining moment of his career. The Dodgers would go on to lose the World Series in Game 7, and years later this would leave people with questions. Had the Astros not cheated, would they have even been in the World Series? If they were, would they have won? Would Kershaw have had such a bad game if they didn't know what pitch was coming? We'll never know. He would regress a bit in 2018, but not a lot, posting a 2.73 ERA in 161 1/3 innings. But Kershaw had his mind set on one thing, getting back to the World Series and winning it all. In Game 2 of the NLDS, Kershaw would go 8 scoreless innings, showing he was not messing around. With the Dodgers winning the series, he was 1 step closer to getting back to the World Series. In Game 1 of the NLCS, Kershaw would struggle, giving up 4 runs in 3 innings with the Dodgers losing, but that was forgotten after his dominant performance in Game 5, going 7 innings, giving up 1 run with the Dodgers winning, and in Game 7, Kershaw came out the bullpen to close it out and send the Dodgers back to the World Series.
The next from Kershaw. The Dodgers have won the pennant.
But unfortunately, devastation would strike again as Kershaw gave up 5 runs in 4 innings in Game 1 of the World Series. On the verge of losing the World Series, Kershaw would give up 4 runs in 7 innings and the Dodgers would lose Game 5 and the World Series. In 2019, Kershaw would have his first season with an ERA over 3 since his rookie year, but still pitched to a 3.03 ERA in 178 1/3 innings. He would struggle in the playoffs this year, where in Game 2 of the NLDS, he gave up 3 runs in 6 innings with the Dodgers losing that game, but the real struggles came in Game 5 in an elimination game, where Kershaw failed to rise to the occasion once again, giving up back-to-back home runs coming out of the bullpen and only recording 1 out as the Dodgers would lose this game and be eliminated from the playoffs. With 2022 being a shortened season, we're going to just focus on the playoffs. In the wildcard series, he would pitch 8 scoreless innings. In Game 2 of the NLDS, Kershaw would pitch 6 innings, giving up 3 runs, and the Dodgers would win that game as well, with them advancing to the NLCS. Kershaw would have a bad start in the NLCS, giving up 4 runs in 7 innings, but the Dodgers would advance to the World Series regardless, and Kershaw would get another opportunity in the World Series. He was lights out in Game 1, giving up 1 run in 6 innings, and would have another good start in Game 5, giving up 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings. And in Game 6 of the World Series, the Dodgers finally did it.
Dave Roberts. And strike 3. Dodgers have won it all.
The Dodgers won the 2020 World Series, giving Kershaw his first ring. But many baseball fans would call it a Mickey Mouse ring and say because of the shortened season, it's not legit. Another slash on Kershaw's career. In 2021, Kershaw would be injured during the postseason, so we're going to move on to 2022. In 2022, Kershaw would have another dominant season, pitching to a 2.28 ERA in 126 1/3 innings at age 34. The Dodgers would face division rivals the Padres in the playoffs that year, and Kershaw would get the start in Game 2. He would pitch 5 innings, giving up 3 runs, and the Dodgers would lose this game and go on to lose this series. Another stain on Kershaw's career. In 2023, Kershaw would have to face another division rival in the playoffs, the Diamondbacks, and in Game 1, he would only be able to record 1 out, giving up 6 runs. While it was unknown at the time, it would later come out that he was injured during this start and needed surgery. Kershaw would only make 7 starts in 2024 and would miss the playoffs, but the Dodgers would go on to win the World Series with Kershaw playing a pivotal role as a clubhouse leader, and he finally earned a ring. Fans seemed legit. Clayton Kershaw has had a career of the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and even though he's an amazing person who runs charities and builds wells in Africa as one of the greatest pitchers of all time, fans still look down upon him, and it needs to stop.